1. Here we go. Welcome back to Nicholas Comic Corner, Classic Known Classics. This is episode number 3134, and Doubleshot number 3028. First up, we're discussing issues from Firestorm Volume 2, starting with issue 87. And we're concluding with the final issue number 100. The first couple issues of this, the first issue opens up right after the events of the Jonas Directive crossover, which, that's something I have reviewed already thanks to Suicide Squad. That's the only way to be able to skip the issue. And also, we actually have a brand new logo for the book that will remain until the final issue. The first couple issues is just Firestorm leaving the characters from the Jonas Directive crossover. We see recap by Captain, his final appearance as a cameo in the book. And he flies off, does a bunch of superheroics as a fire elemental for the next couple issues. And then all of a sudden the elementals start going crazy. And then we start the 4-part element war, which starts issue 89, concludes issue 92, which in the storyline itself, Firestorm teams up with Swamp Thing. So he does some training for Swamp Thing because he's an elemental now. And they fight the elementals, they stop them, and then right after this crossover this story wraps up, Martin Stein returns to the book, where apparently he's just doing his own thing now. He has nothing to do with Firestorm. And at this point, we're just basically just building to the end of the series here, where we're slowly bringing back in the supporting cast a little bit. There's a brief appearance by the Thinker in here. Actually, no, not a Thinker. More like we see his parents come back, which of course is when he comes back from being around the world the entire book for the last year. And then during the remaining issues of the book, we have the return of the Parasite to the series, first time since issue 60. We have him pop up at the end of issue, I believe it was 97, I think it was. And then he's there for the next couple issues. We also have Killer Frost making one last appearance before the actual end. And by the way, also in the first couple issues, he actually gets to a fight with Firehawk, which of course they do reconcile before the end of the series, where he, of course, has one last fight in the final book. In the final issue of the book, issue 100, which is a double-sized issue. Let me show the issue cover off here. Where it's a 64-page issue where Firestorm gets to have a one last fight with Brimstone. A character, John Ostrander, introduced in issue. He basically introduced the character in Legends. He appeared in the book 3 times afterwards. But I forgot to mention, Tom Mandrake is the artist for this last year of the book. Yep, yes he is. And aside from basically finding Brimstone, we get a recap of the entire series from the original volume, basically a bridge retelling of the series, told by John Osborne. Nothing really contradicting anything established in the book. I mean, he doesn't ignore what John Jericon wrote in the book, which is great. And he, of course, beats Brimstone. He finally was able to untransform from being this fire elemental. And, by the way, after this book, and apparently kind of separated from this thing, so this fire elemental went off to space, never to be seen again. Though he's able to transform into Firestorm later on when he pops up in a book, which is kind of interesting. He reunites his parents. Him and Firehawk become a couple. And book ends right there. A nice little happy note there. Final thoughts on Firestorm Volume 2 and John Ostrander's run for the book. First, let's start with John Ostrander's one. He had a very interesting start. I love the first half of his book. His first year of the book was amazing. Doing just really good issues. And then he started doing stuff with Russia, and then it was stuff with the one issue with Jonas Directive, which he was writing pretty much a lot of the whole thing. He wrote this book and Suicide Squad. And then, of course, he had the whole Elements thing was weird. I'm not sure whose idea was. It was either it was Ostrander or his editor's idea. This is this, in my honest opinion, if anybody reading the book at the time, probably could see this as probably the thing that killed the book. When Fires became this fire elemental, and it's like he was trying with this thing, with the whole fire elemental, because at the start of the book basically was really good, still being Firestorm. You read this, and you see him like this, that's not Firestorm, it looks like a fire monster. But that was basically the thing that Firestorm had for the last, couple years, the book. And this probably drove readers away. I don't think at the start of it, John Ostrander probably drove readers away. I think that this look for him probably drove readers away. And that's probably the reason the book ended when it did, which was back in August of... the issue publication was August 1990. Was probably released in June of 1990. And probably also, it probably was time to let the book go, because 100 issues is a really good amount. Yeah. Also, with these issues, when we have the final appearance here at Martin Stein, he does not return again in the comics. Nope, he completely disappears. We actually don't see him again until the New 52 happens. Yes, that's the next time we see him. The look of this Firestorm here reminds me of the look that was given to Firestorm for the relaunch Firestorm book published on New 52. That's what reminds me of when I see this. But as for the whole volume itself, most of this volume was amazing. The entire stuff Jerry Conway did was just pure awesome at its finest. Loved every single issue of it. And like I said, the start of Ostrander was amazing. I loved it. It's the last couple years, basically. I didn't mind the changed logo. I did not mind changed logo at all with this book. It's just that the fire elemental stuff probably was something I was not a fan of. I didn't read at the time because I wasn't born yet when this book came. I wasn't reading comics until 2004. I didn't read this book until 2013, I think it was. Yeah. What got me to read the book, aside from the fact Jerry Conway wrote it, the New 52 book. Yes. But with that, I'm done with Volume 2. Now what happened to him after this? Well, after this, we wouldn't see him again until... Here's the thing, his next appearance would not be until the Extreme Justice book, which also had a featured Showcase the Showcase Presents title. The Showcase book, I think it was 96, I think it was. He had a two-part feature in that one. And then once the book ended, it's basically he next appeared in the Power comic book, which I'll discuss that next before I do Firestorm Volume 3. Which why Volume 3 is not as long as Volume 1. Not Volume 1, Volume 2. Yeah. Not very long. So Power Company's next. So, next up we have is From the Mind of Jack the King Kirby. We have a book known as The Sandman. Which, of course, basically Jack Kirby pretty much drew. I think he drew all 6 issues, except for, I think he drew all but, 1. Joe Simon just did the opening issue, and after the first issue, we have Michael Fisher pretty much the rest of the book. This is going to put a original character, not as well known as basically as, Darkseid or Etrigan Demon. This character is not as well known as those other ones, per se. If you ask any comic fan, when they think of a title called The Sandman, the first thing people think of is a Neil Gaiman book, or people think of Wesley Dodds. Not this book. You can think of this book as the Forgotten Sandman book, and that's pretty much all true. This is the Forgotten Sandman book. This is Garrett Sand, who is basically going around battling various characters like the Spider, who appears for a couple issues. And this book was published in the 1970s, from 1974 to 1976. It was canceled because of the DC implosion. Not because of those sales, DC implosion. So, well, the first, the guy's real name is Gareth Sanford, and he also about Nazis. Well, his first really fights is a character called General Electric, who fought Wonder Woman as well. But I only printed this book for one issue. This issue set up with the only issue of the book written by Joe Simon, because the rest of the book, basically, Kirby would kind of do most of the arc for. 2, he would skip the book for it, with Ernie Chin in the artwork. This debuts the character of Dr. Spider, who does return for issue 6. Issue number 3, battling some one-shot characters called the Living Brain of the Count, Professor Ranhoff, and the Count Zombie Gorillas. Yes. Which once again we have Mark Fisher and Ernie Chen. Jack Kirby comes back issue 4. I think he does pretty much a couple issues. Where in issue 3 battles aliens. You think, okay. And then issue 5 he battles someone called the Frogmen. And then issue 6 he battles the Spider once again. The Spider is probably the only character who fights more than once. Yeah. And there's even a cameo here by Gerald Ford, who was the president of the U.S. at the time. As for a book by Jack Kirby, this is... I love the artwork. Probably the best thing about this book is the artwork. I love the artwork Jack Kirby does. He does 4 of the issues of this book, which is amazing. The opening issue is fantastic. It's just that I can see why maybe this book was a big seller at the time, because it just is this colorful character taking on, with the exception of a couple villains, a lot of random villains who only pop up just for a single issue. But it's interesting though that Joe Simon, this would be the sole issue that he would write. While Michael Fish takes over the rest of the book, which I would love to hear that conversation. Hey, why would Joe Simon will do one issue of this book? That I don't have any idea. I highly doubt it would do his health. No. But maybe because also it's coming to the end of his career at this point. It is possible. That probably was the reason for it. But I get the Sandman by Jack Kirby, even though he only did 4 of the 6 issues, a 9 out of 10. It's a good book, definitely, but what was supposed to be issue 7 was actually published in a Cancer Comic Club, which was retooled for a story for the Commodity Special. Yeah, but this character here, Gareth Sanford, was he featured after this book wrapped up? He was. After this book ended, he did pop up for one issue of the very next volume for Sandman. Yes. He popped up covers of Wonder Woman, some specials. He appeared in the first 3 annuals of Justice League America, where he was named an honorary member of the Justice League America, because they dealt with Dr. Destiny, of course. He would actually die in the pages of Infinity Incorporated 50, which basically that also involved stuff related to Hector Hall becoming new Sandman. Yeah, but I only reviewed this because it was booked by Jack Kirby, so why not? What's the place in this book? Because, well, for right now, in the case of Firestorm, it's being replaced with Power Company. Sandman, I'm going to replace this with Starman, because I really want to review this title, the first one for the series. I figured, oh, why not? It shouldn't take that long to do. I mean, it's only like 45 issues. Though I'm thinking, like, right after I finish this book up, I'd probably go ahead and do Animal-Man Volume 1. Yep. But not much to say about these 2 books. So that is pretty much it. Particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. So I am going to rest my voice for a bit, and I'm going to go ahead and watch On Your Girlfriends. Okay, let's do it. Bye.